In today's video, I interview one of the ordinands who put their name to the letter to the Archbishops and Bishops, telling them to stop same-sex blessings. A huge thing to do. Let's get into it. Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Rev Dan. I'm a vicar in the Church of England, and today I have an ordinand. So just to explain what an ordinand is, an ordinand is a student, basically. They're at Theological College training to be a vicar. It's part of the process. You're training to be a vicar as an ordinand, and then you go to be a vicar as a curate, and then you finally go on to be something like I am, a vicar in the Church of England. Now we have an ordinand at college, Matt Porter. Welcome, Matt, to the channel.
Hi. Thank you. Very excited to be here.
No, great for you to come on. Now, I've got you on because you are one of over 100, I believe.
Now over 130. Yeah.
Wow. So over 130 ordinands who have signed a letter to the Archbishops and Bishops speaking out against prayers and love and faith. And when you first sent the letter, how many were there? There were
78 of us back then, a couple of weeks ago now. Yeah.
And you and Anna, and I brutalised her name, Mayo.
Anna Mayo, yeah.
I think I call her Maggio because my wife is from Colombia, so I keep going for the Spanish thing, and I keep wanting to say Maggio, so I apologise, Anna, for brutalising your name. But so you're the only two who put your names to the letter, but there were 76
right.
who said no. So let's get into that, because I've spoken about this a couple of times on my channel.
Yeah.
I think it's awful that 76 people, probably now 128 more, well, not more, but in total, feel that they can't put their names to a letter to the bishops and archbishops. Why is that?
Yeah, I think a number of people would have done so as we consulted. So it's not to say everyone on the list absolutely doesn't want their name to be public. But as we put out feelers, a lot of people, definitely over half, said to us, actually, this feels really risky. Like just the dynamics at play, we're at the kind of bottom of the pile, we'll be looking for jobs in future, all those kind of things. And how will it affect us to put our name to this letter? Really interesting that those dynamics were coming out so strongly.
Yeah, and I said on a video the other day, I was a curate, and there was a letter, I think, go to the Oxford bishops, and I'm in the Oxford diocese, and I was advised by a lot of people as a curate, do not put your name to this letter. It won't be good if you're looking for a job, which I felt like, that's, and I was torn. Probably on reflection, it's quite, now doing what I do, because I do get a lot of comments. So how do you feel? Because you and Anna are the ones who, why have you put your head above the parapet?
Someone said to me the other day, oh, thank you so much for doing it. I was like, I'm not quite sure how it came to be exactly like this. The group just started out as a kind of chat place, link place, very grassroots, no plan to necessarily do anything. But as the dialogue's gone on and on, we just thought, actually, we're a really, small but significant voice within this kind of grouping. And when we kind of realized, actually, it'll be easier to kind of move in one collective way. Anna and I had a conversation where we said, well, someone's got to sign it. And so we decided the two of us would do so on behalf of the others. So definitely an interesting dynamic. It needed to be said, I think. It needed to be communicated to the bishops, just the strength of what we were hearing. I mean, we were hearing people from loads of different colleges, loads of different places across the country training, talking about sleepless nights, talking about, worrying if they should even continue in the Church of England. We've had friends who are going to go forward who've just decided, no, I can't be part of this anymore. Others who've been pressurized by bishops or, just by conversations they've been having. And we just thought, look, this is not the way it should be. This structure shouldn't happen in this way. We have to kind of say something. And literally every day we're getting emails now from people signing the letter saying, gosh, I never knew there was a voice like this. Thank you. I want to add my name. So it's been really encouraging in that respect. But not what we anticipated doing, I think, at the start of the year.
I didn't anticipate doing this. I'm just going to say there's a link below for all you ordinands who want to sign the letter. There's a link down below in the description. Yeah, because I never, what made this channel actually was LLF. And speaking out against that before, I used to be happy with 140 views. I thought that was great, but so we come into this not knowing. But what's your expectation personally? Do you think that's it for you? You go through training, it's going to be very hard to find accuracy, or you're going to be very limited to where you go?
Yeah, I think certainly. So for me personally, things are moving forward quite nicely. But certainly for lots in the group, there is a real sense of, I guess at each stage, there's a decision to be made. So people heading into training, do they want to join this thing that looks like it's heading in a very difficult direction? But actually for many people, ordination, so the process that we go through when we leave Bible College, when we leave our training at this stage, into the next stage, as you say, curacy, that's a big decision. Like, are we getting ordained under somebody, under a Church of England structure? Lots of challenges, I think, for various people across those kind of discussions. And like everyone, we kind of wait and wonder what November will bring. But it just feels like, I don't know, like this kind of, things are broken, clearly. We should not be having this conversation. We shouldn't be having to do this, should we? But here we are.
Exactly. Standing up for orthodoxy and coming into church. This is what it's just supposed to be. It's not supposed to be speaking. Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Ordinands speaking and writing to bishops and archbishops. I mean, this is unheard of. I don't know when the last time perhaps this has been done, or if it's ever been done. I can only imagine during the Oxford movement and the debates on vestiture and and the popish stuff. I can imagine it then, but have you heard of another time that ordinands have?
No, it definitely felt super surreal. What we're meant to be doing here at college, training for ministry, reading, getting involved in church life. A couple of days ago, I was involved in a kids group at church, doing a holiday club. And then the next minute I'm home and I'm emailing bishops. It just feels like that's above my pay grade. Like, what is going on?
For
Why
sure.
is it happening?
For
but
sure.
And it has to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the strength of the feeling on this is that you guys, and I think in the same week, I think the 11 bishops, now 12, well done, the 12th bishop, have come out with letters, and I'm sitting here going, this is unprecedented. Like this, not only this, the whole process. You got the archbishop being ousted or sacked or whatever you want to call it by the Anglican Communion, not recognised as first amongst equals, a division, a split amongst the Anglican Communion, and then later on, just before November Synod, you've got ordinands and bishops. I mean, coming and writing and saying, stop.
Yeah.
Have you heard of anything before? Is this,
No, I think what's been wonderful about it is just that range. So when we first started kind of having conversations, there was a feeling, it might be one or two people or one or two kind of tribes within Church of England culture. It's been really broad, like people from all kinds of different backgrounds, different training institutions. I mean, I think, you're right. It's totally unprecedented. And just because I guess we feel like, well, if we don't speak out now, when will we ever have a chance to say, what just happened? This is going to affect, for many of us, I think we represent quite a young demographic generally within the people signing the letter.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 30, 40 years of ministry within the Church of England. Like, that is a massive thing to suddenly have this decision, and in the way it's being handled, and just such a mess. Have
you heard anything back yet from any bishop? Or let's start big. Let's go the archbishops.
We got just a little reply back from one of the archbishops, just saying, this is where we're at. We thank you for the letter, but it was very much a kind of you're holding email. Wait until November. That's what we've got at this point. One of the things we're in discussion with, obviously we're a big group now, is just how to follow up on that and say, actually, it's grown. Do you want to say anything more to us? I'm sure the archbishops regularly watch this channel, so if they want to ping an email, they're very welcome.
I'm sure they got so much time to watch.
Indeed.
So I know bishops do, and I know, people do watch this channel. So, so how's the feeling in colleges at the moment?
Yeah.
What's because all of us from vicars and archdeacons and bishops and archbishops, we've all been through the same process. That's the process. That's the great thing about the Church of England. We all go through the same process. And at college, when I was at Wycliffe 10 years ago, this was just starting to come out with the Pilling report and things like that. And so we were talking about it, but we didn't think it'd come this quickly. But how does it feel? What is there, like, a lot of conversations about what do we do now? Are you going forward? Are you going to, are those conversations happen in the common rooms?
Yeah, very much. I think it really does depend which college you're at. I mean, obviously some colleges can be a bit more open about where they stand than others. It's been really sad actually to hear a few people tell us at their college they're told just don't talk about it. It's so divisive. Don't even talk about it with your personal tutor because it's such a kind of explosive issue. Others have found that this group, regularly the conversation is what do we do? When do we do? And I think one of the real concerns for us is we represent people at this stage of training, but what about the people that are meant to follow over the next couple of years? I mean, we've seen massive decline in terms of interest, and it will always be said, oh, it's COVID, or it's this, or it's that. But realistically, it's this, isn't it? It's the prayers of love and faith are having a huge impact. I spoke to someone I hadn't spoken to in ages a few days ago, and they said, well, depending on November, I might pull out of the back process. And I think that's a really, that's not an uncommon thing. I'm sure on both sides of the debate, actually. Where are these people going to go?
And that's the thing, that there is, it is on both sides of the debate. And that's one thing that I do say a lot. This affects both sides. Not even though I fundamentally don't agree with them. I pray in conversation that we could hopefully, I always say they want to convert us and we want to convert them. That's so there's a lot of well, it's quite shocking actually to hear that you've been told not to talk about it. I mean, this is the number one thing. And with that, because you need to talk about it, really, especially at Theological College, that's what your tutors are there for, and the special, I forgot what they're called, but the ones that you're assigned to in your, I'm sure you've got fellowship groups and things. Because you need to reconcile. I'm on this process in the Church of England. I feel called to the Church of England. They're doing this. How do you do that? And how is that personally for you? Are you wrestling with, I'm called to the Church of England. I don't feel that I can serve to the Church of England, but actually God's called me here. You get what I mean?
Personally, it's a big thing. I think probably when the conversation first started, when the votes back in February or whenever it is, I think a lot of people just thought, gosh, is this the end? Now I think it more feels like, well, we feel like we've got something that we really want to hold on to. There's so much that we've been commended for this role. We've been sent forward to this stage of training. And we don't want to leave. We've got churches that we've been sent from, that we love, people that we want to serve and minister to. So I think it's a real wrestle. And I guess with every news article that comes out, with every video that you make, and there's the next round of things. And I guess I've been really, I guess for myself, I think let's stay and let's, why should we be pushed out of this thing that we have? It's a wonderful opportunity. It's we're not changing the doctrine ourselves. We're just trying to say, please, can we keep doing what we've done? And we understand it's costly and it's a difficult conversation that's to be had. I think there is just a real distrust of what might happen, the process that could come, the leadership in general. It feels like we're a football team and we're looking to the manager and we're saying, how do you want us to play? And it's just so unclear. Like, what are we going to do going forward? And then for some, definitely knowing where their bishops stand either is helpful or very unhelpful in terms of ordination. So, yeah, I think numbers going forward for ordination will decrease and decrease.
Which is the huge danger for Orthodoxy and the Church of England, because we need people coming through to do what they're called to do. Yeah. Whether, we need, this is the thing, we all need to stand up in different ways. I spoke to an ordinand the other day, and he was asking me, what do I do? And I said, he wants to stand up, but it's, as you know, that's it, your card's marked in that sense now. Yeah. And people need to stand up in different ways. You don't need to go out in public, like do what I do, but we need to get people who are very good in coming through the Church of England, being in those churches, but also in different positions. The Liberals did it. They got in all the positions while we were out preaching the gospel, and this is where we got now. So, yeah, it could be quite disastrous, actually, a lot of people turning away if they're not coming through for the future, because you're the next generation, or maybe not even your generation, but the generation after.
Absolutely.
The church is going to come back to orthodoxy, or a remnant of the church. No, I wouldn't say a remnant because it's quite big, actually. It's going to come back, but it's trying to encourage those. What would you say personally from your stance, or will you just say you got to follow what your heart? Do you follow? This is the thing. This is the tension, isn't it? Oh, do I stay? Or in a way, do you feel like that going against God? I've had friends leave the Church of England.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like we know God's church is going to grow, don't we? Whether it's Church of England or the church in England is going to grow, we shouldn't doubt that. And it's funny, isn't it? The number of times in the Bible when it seems like disaster is upon them, and God, humanly, we can't get out of this situation. Like, it is just an absolute mess. God can still work. So I'm confident in that. Yeah. I do think if I hadn't yet come into training, would this put me off? Like, would I think, actually, it's easier to just go and work for another church, or to not come into ordained ministry, but I don't know. And I really wrestle with that for people. I think you're right to encourage people. Like, if they can be in, like, there's something worth holding on to, but what you're signing up for is going to be really, like, let's just say messy. Like, it's not even going to necessarily be like decisive one way or another, but you're just going to have to live with a lot of uncertainty for a long time. Would I sign someone up for that? I'm not sure. It's hard.
It is. It's hard. I have conversations as well with other vicars, and where's the red line? At what point do we say this is enough? Because it's a point for me where the gospel is affected, preaching the gospel, because all that comes up is this living the love of faith, and the prayers and things like, and why aren't you doing that, and then you just can't speak about Jesus. And I think that's and it could end up that way. Have you read this, and have you been as good as I have and marked a lot of with a yellow highlighter?
Do you know what I was thinking last night about this document? And I was like, we here are told to stick to our word count, to make it concise and clear what we're saying. Like, why would you send out 109 or whatever it is page documents? I have allowed the people who are very good at proofreading stuff to proofread it and to tell me those things. And I think that's like one of the tensions we have, is we have a lot of other things that we're meant to be doing with our time right now, as you do, as everyone in ministry does. Yeah. Like, think of the hours that this is like taking, and the brain space, and yeah, it's really tricky, isn't it? So no is the answer. I don't have my own copy of the highlighted document, but yeah. Because
your letter came out before this got released, didn't it?
That's right. Yeah. So we got our letter in just before the House of Bishops met, which I think was really good timing, actually, for it. Like, we weren't responding to what they'd done. We were saying, look, this is where we're at. Yeah, and it does feel like the headline is just every day there's a new headline popping up. Which is just very exhausting, I think, for all of us.
Yeah. Yes, I produced 2 videos this week just because the Church Times got information. Still figuring out how they got that one, but about how the House of Bishops voted and the College of Bishops, and it's all coming out. There's a lot of responses to those things, and it does take a lot of time. You know, I had to stay up into the wee early hours to get the video done,
Yeah.
because I am running a parish as well, and this
Yeah.
is a distraction. Is it a distraction as well in the colleges for you, writing essays, because you've got loads of essays to do? And
Yeah, lots of that. Yeah, I think so. And it feels strange as well, because the Church of England is not in the healthiest state, is it? As you know, like every year, tens of thousands of people leaving the Church of England, like churches shutting. Like it feels like there should be something else that we're spending some time talking about. But because of the way this has been handled, like we're playing catch up, aren't we, all the time with the information? We're waiting for the next thing. We're waiting to see what legal parameter will be pushed, what boundary will be stepped across. Yeah, it's not why we came into ministry, I think, and none of us would say that. But it is important, and it is our futures, and it's the future of the church in England, of England. So we have to, we have to take time to consider those things.
Yeah, COVID brought 10 years of decline into 2 or 3 years, and our response has been living in love and faith. Which, you know, if you're fair, and let's be fair, if the bishops thought it was this is the answer, or one of the answers, I still want to see, since it's announced in February, we should see growth, right? We're nearly into November, and so people go, oh, the Church of England's changed, we're going, and I'm not seeing growth. Oh, thank God my church is growing, but they're not coming and saying, oh, it's because of the prayers of love and faith. It's because standing on orthodoxy and preaching the gospel more than anything.
Yeah. I saw a stat, I mean, these things fly around, don't they? That the Church of England had done some research into kids and youth stuff, and that 70% or so of churches with over 25 kids and youth in them are either Orthodox or Anglo-Catholic or evangelical. And it's like, why would you not consider that? I mean, I understand that there is a debate to be had and a discussion to be had, but they've got this aim, don't they, to grow younger and more diverse. It's like, why would you not try and protect the thing that is doing the thing that you want? So I don't know, just so messy. And it's people on the ground, isn't it? I think that's the real challenge for us at the Bible College stage, because we're not with people day by day. We're in our studies, we're in lectures, we're of course part of churches, but not in the same way that being on the front lines is. And so there's just more time to sit and ponder and think, do I want this for 40 years? The college I'm at, we've got lots of independent students as well, thinking, oh, they're not having to worry about this. They don't have a 109-page document to try and read, or I can see why there is a real desire to think, oh, maybe the grass is greener somewhere else. I don't feel personally that is the case, because I think the discussion will go wider in due course. So I think you might get a period of time, but inevitably it's going to come elsewhere.
In other denominations, they've either changed their stance, or they are in discussions to change their stance. There isn't a denomination that isn't affected. I mean, even the Free Church of England had a deacon who was in a same-sex relationship for quite a long time. He passed on, and it came out then. So, and they're aligned with GAFCON. So in one way or another, it's this will come. I don't think any denomination will go. And the other thing is like, I feel like, speaking to someone the other day, is how do other denominations feel about Church of England vicars? Would they dare take a Church of England vicar? You've got to like Elim and those denominations, FIEC, who are Orthodox, stand on the Word of God, but would they want to take it? If we feel like we're tainted in that sense. Where do you go? That's a big question, isn't it? You're called into this. So are you guys as Ordinands going to respond to this document, or are you going to wait? Is it till General Synod? Have you done your piece, or are you saying, actually, we've got a movement going, we've got over 130 people, we've got a voice, and we need to keep adding that now?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. What we want to do, because we represent such a broad range of people, we really want to move together. It took an extraordinary amount of time to write one letter that was one page, to work together, to have that collaboration. I don't know how many times Anna and I sat down and looked at the wording and the phrasing and people's ideas and so on and so forth. But it feels like, I mean, as I say, I didn't quite expect this to be my life right now, but it feels like, well, we've started the conversation. What's next? So you asked before about some of the bishops, and some of the Orthodox bishops have come back, obviously supportive and thanking us. But we were in a couple of interesting conversations with others across the Church of England who are just saying, especially that thing of signing privately, being very fearful, they're hearing that and they're saying, whoa, that's not what we want. That can't be right. And I think, great. So we've got a few more, conversations ongoing, emails ongoing. It's wonderful, like as people sign, like our voice gets bigger, our representation gets bigger. But equally, we're right at the bottom. So what do we do? How do we speak any kind of, how do we speak into the situation? Especially when it's really easy for them just to give us a little pat on the head and say, you've done your bit. Thank you. We've heard you. Move on. I mean, I wonder if they were anticipating that there would be some noise. Surely they would think that. And they'd say, oh, well, a little bit of noise, we can just push it to the side. I think what's happening is the conversation is split pretty much down the middle, isn't it? And so the noise is growing. How we act next, I don't know. Probably we wait and see what happens, but I don't know.
I don't want to let the cat out of the bag if there is anything as well. I just realised that's a loaded question. But you're right. And I said this before earlier. I think the scariest thing and one of the saddest things is that you feel that you can't put your names. And I said in one of my videos, and I'll say it again, I think the Archbishop of Canterbury should stand up at General Synod and say, this is, he could say it in his own words, but he must be saddened by this. We are a church, we're a Christian church, and that you should be able to put your name to something. I mean, the Liberals are clearly saying anything they want, and actually vicars out there doing same-sex blessings now, and nothing coming against them. And you guys feel, if I put my name to a letter, he should stand up and say, we're not that church. And if any bishop is found, if you guys can put your names publicly, and any bishop is found to be holding you back or stopping ordinations, then that will be dealt with, because this is as a witness. I mean, it's not Christian. It doesn't feel Christian. At all.
No, definitely not. And I mean, that would be a wonderful, wonderful thing. Would it happen? I don't know. I think it'd be good if it did.
No, I don't think so, because what you got to remember as well. I don't know where Ordinands actually come in this, but we are a flat structure. There's no hierarchical. Curates are no more important than archbishops. We're on a flat structure. We just do different roles. But Ordinands, like, I don't know what you're saying. As we all see, you are training, and you're studying. You are living in. This is what's interesting. As Ordinands, you always live in that bubble. I said this at Theological College. You're just immersed in essays and studying the Bible and training and discerning and all these things, and so that's why your voice being added, I think, is quite powerful, because you're set apart. That's what you do for 2 years, 3 years. You're set apart. You don't have anything to do. Yes, you serve in churches. Yes, you do all this, but it's purely to study the Bible to enable you to then go out into the world with that theological knowledge. But this is like, it feels also a disservice to you, because we're not allowing you to do what you're sent to Theological College for, because this is, you're saying, no, actually, we can't stand up to this.
I mean, I'm definitely no political activist, so I'd never, other than saying thank you for various things, I'd never written to a bishop before. So then to email every bishop in the House of Bishops and then deal with all their correspondence, it's like, whoa, like, but it's the future, isn't it? It's the future, and it's literally right at stake right now. Like, the decisions they make in November could potentially have massive implications. And I wonder if, like, are they aware of just how big the decision is? I mean, some are, but maybe some are a little, still waking up to just how critical it is. Do they care about our voice? Do they just think, oh, it doesn't really matter? I don't know. I'd love bishops to email back and tell us what they think.
Absolutely. This is a conversation. Absolutely. And because a lot of this has been clouded in secrecy with all the meetings and stuff like that. You can only find out what happened at the College of Bishops and the House of Bishops by it being leaked rather than published. And but you are, again, going back to the future of the church. You're the next generation coming in. I think quite a young, as you said, younger generation. I think there was a push, wasn't there, a few years ago, which probably would have got your generation, or your cohort, should I say, which were younger. They realised they needed younger people. There's a lot of people retiring now, more people retiring than vacancies being filled. So actually, your voice is key. And if people aren't coming in, that is also disastrous for the church. Take away LLF, take away all that. That if we're not getting enough people coming in, and a lot of people are retiring, it's disastrous, because you're going to end up with bigger benefices, parishes or churches, one vicar instead of 4 going into 6 or 7, and the church doesn't grow. Proven, one vicar, one church. So how do you feel coming into a parish of 28 or benefices 28 parishes?
Yeah, exactly. Why would you do that? And yet I feel like churches in the Orthodox network are going to try and find different ways of saying, actually, Church of England doesn't move quick. That's what I've discovered in all these conversations. So if we sit it out and we wait it out, we'll see the fruit, won't we? We'll see the fruit of the gospel message going forth. And but will there be anything for us to come into? Or even 5 years on, will there be any ordinands coming in? Like, if they're fearful, if they're bullied out of it, who's going to come through? Like, it's just a real problem. And I think, increasingly, we've got to just say, this is a really big problem. Like, change course, do something different, think about it, pause, reflect longer. No one wants that. I know no one wants that. But what you're doing is just taking it off the edge of the cliff. It's the time to speak, isn't it? And
you're right, because the reaction to you guys and your letter will dictate how ordinands, they'll be watching you. You lot are watching us, as it were. I suppose you're watching curates to see how curates, if they're going to get roles. And the curates are looking at us and see what we're doing, if we're staying or leaving, or how we're handling this. But the people who are now in the process of discernment are looking at you guys going, well, how are the bishops going to respond to them? And if they respond in a negative way, or even, I'm not going to say anything, they're going to just say, well, I'm not going to go to the Church of England. So what you've done is big, really big. And I thank you for that, because we need more voices out there, and not just a voice for the parish, but your voices from colleges, the voices of bishops, and the voices of the Anglican Communion. I mean, you could say that we're all shouting now.
Yeah.
Will they hear? Do you think they're here? I
have a 4-year-old. You can see some of the drawings behind. Yeah. One of the things we study this year is Isaiah, and in Isaiah, the people are very bad at listening, aren't they? Like, he speaks, they don't listen. And I've been trying to teach her a little bit of it, and she does this where she covers her ears and she just sings loudly. I don't know. And yet we're told, aren't we, to speak up in these moments, to try and say something. I've been really encouraged by those bishops that spoke out. There will be others thinking of joining them or somewhere closely aligned to them. Worried about this conversation and the dynamics and the stress on ordinands across the board. We know God, we trust him, and we think, let's be brave, let's take our moment.
That's the thing, isn't
it? What else can we do?
It is trusting God. It's in his hands ultimately, and he'll be doing something through this. I was speaking the other day as well, to a vicar friend, and saying, I do get comments about the channel, and but I don't understand why, because if I'm not speaking truth in their eyes, what have they got to worry about? Because and if you guys aren't speaking truth, your letter means nothing. It's just some ordinands get together, and the bishops, if they're not speaking truth, then let them speak. But there does feel a pushback, and that's the interesting thing. Why, if there's are we speaking truth? Thank you so much for standing up, and all your other 130, and hopefully more people will sign and join. I know there are ordinands who don't know about this. Like I said, the link is below. We'll be praying for you, and everyone on the channel, please pray for these ordinands, especially for Matt and Anna, because they're the ones who put their heads above the parapet, very much in a very delicate situation, because you have got no protections around you. But I'm sure churches will pick you up, because they want good Orthodox people. I must mention the sun shining on the righteous. I got this problem in the mornings with sun. So, and like, did you see this little bit in the window? I got like a little bit in the window. It's 2 window panes. So if I go one side or the other. So, thank you so much. Is there anything we can pray for you and your cohort?
You could pray for great wisdom. I think there are some people facing really tricky decisions this coming year, heading into diocese where they feel like, can I do that or not? They want to, for the reasons we've said, because if they leave, who's going to replace them? But equally, it is each individual before God, and that is really hard. And I think for gentleness among us as a group, the unity has been wonderful. People holding different views, some leaving, some staying, some saying, I'm going to stay till the bitter end. That's really hard because, so gentleness and unity. And I don't know, what do we pray for other than that God will be glorified in this crazy situation that should never exist? That we look back in 10 years and say, wow, wasn't God so faithful? Wasn't God so great?
We just
I would never have expected him to do that, but it's been brilliant. That'd be a good prayer.
and it's a shame because we've lost this rivalry between theological colleges.
Oh yeah,
because that was so important, so important. Where did you go? Oh, I went to Wycliffe. Oh, where did you go? Well, at least I got an education. And,
like, thank you, you're my friend. Oh, I'm so glad to have a friend.
yeah, exactly. Orthodoxy brings together even across theological colleges and across denominations, not denominations, across traditions. You got a lot of, just before we finish, you got a lot of Anglo-Catholics joining in as well?
So when we first signed the letter, we deliberately didn't say Anglo-Catholic because we didn't have a big grouping of that. We said traditional, which I think covers a broader group. But since we've been out on other channels, since the letter's been public, and a couple of bishops have been really helpful in just saying, like, they're Anglo-Catholic, they're Orthodox, so it grows, and people say, this is me. We only meet once a month because we don't want to overwhelm people, but we're looking forward to our next meeting. Loads of new faces, lots of encouragement, and I'm sure lots to talk about ahead of General Synod or just after General Synod.
Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For you, and stay faithful, stay strong.
Thank you.